where to start. I've been a very, very fortunate person over the years. God has really been good to me. I didn't recognize it in my early years, but I found out later, as I got to know the good Lord. A lot of things changed my life. And I seemed to go along with that idea that it was good. And I've been trying to live it up to what He wants me to be over the years. And He has blessed me beyond real. I think about just in here, my entire family. And it's amazing to me how He's been there for each and every one of them. We've been close together. And we just love all the things that God does for us each day. And I think each one of them in my family thanks Him for what He's done for them. Because I look back on it, we helped somebody else, and then God helped us. He would provide for whatever we needed, and He knew what we needed before we did. That was the beauty part about it. Anyway, as I look back on it, there were so many I thought they were, miracles. But they weren't miracles. It was just God doing the work.
Which some people call it.
And I think people today is that way. Man, I was lucky this happened. Luck has nothing to do with it. It's God working. But there's very few. My family recognizes stuff that's done, but other people don't realize when something good happens to them that God has a hand in it. They said, well, it's purely luck. That's nothing. Anything I believe and learned, I used to think the same way. Well, I was lucky I got to do this. I was lucky I got to do that. But it wasn't luck at all. It was God working in my life. And I see that now even more, how He's blessed me in my life and in my children's life. And I think as long as we give God the credit that's due Him, He'll take care of us. And all you got to do is just ask Him. And that's the problem with the people today. They wait till they're so down that so downhill before they go and ask God for help. And then God helps them. This is the problem. God helps them and they say, oh boy, everything's fine. And we forget where it came from. That God was in it all the time. But we're going along on our merry way, just thinking, well, this was just luck that this happened. Well, it was God working. That's what was happening.
You had some situations where you saw God working to kind of help protect you, that you look back now and you say it wasn't just luck, like the time you were in the car accident.
Oh, that was amazing. We were in a truck and we were going, I was in Arabia at the time, and we were going from one small town to a oil field. It was I think it was the Gulf oil people, and I was on the way to some party that they were having, and one of the guys that worked for the oil company had a truck, and he and I and one of my mates said, okay, we'll go to that party. I remember we were on our way, and there was very few roads. This road happened to be one that did get paved, but it was crude. But anyway, we were headed that way, and there was a guy from that oil company that the fellow that was driving worked for, and he had taken out a car or a truck that belonged to the company, and he had snuck the truck out to go to this party, and he was coming back from that party and he was drunk, and this guy, the cars collided, what happened on the road, and we just hit each other head on, but with kind of a glance, so we went off of one another. But unfortunately, the driver in my truck and my partner that I had on the right, I was sitting in the middle. One went through the windshield, and the other one head hit the dashboard or the steering wheel and that, and they were both killed, that I remember. And all I had was I had a scratch on the top of my head where I hit when I threw me forward, and I hit the dash on the truck, and I was really put out. The fact that actually I didn't realize. I think I was dazed, so that it was after I come out of it that they told me the other two guys didn't make it. The guy that was driving the other truck, I guess the reason he is still alive, he was drunk, and I guess anyway he didn't die in it. But that was just one of the stories that I figured God was in this, although at that time I didn't believe. I didn't believe. I just didn't trust God like I do today. I didn't trust Him to take care of me, and although He was doing it, I guess another story starts at how I started out in life. I'm the only guy that I know that has had 3 mothers and 2 fathers. And my father and my original father and my mother, I never knew. I was 3 years old, and while I remember a lot of things that happened when I was adopted, that my father and my mother that adopted me took care of me. And strangely enough, this is how God works. He kept it from me until I was 21 years old. And I found out that my father was my adopted father. And it shook me a little bit, waiting all that time thinking, this is my father, and then finding out through reading some papers that he had to fill out to work during the war out at the port there in Brownsville. And he had me down as an adopted son. Well, people that I grew up with knew it. They knew that I was adopted, but they never told me that I was adopted. It was a time back then that people just didn't say things. They didn't talk about it. So therefore, I never knew it. And it kept it secret up until, I guess I must have been close to 20. I was 21, I think, at the time. And I found out. But it didn't make that much difference to me because as I told my father, that it wouldn't matter. I was happy that he kept me and took care of me, and he did. Because it was tough when my mother died, or my stepmother died.
Your adopted mother.
My adopted mother, yes. And it was a time.
Which you were how old when she died?
I was 6 years old. I know I was because I was going to school. I think I was first grade. And we were living outside of Rio Hondo at the time on a farm. And Dad was doing the farming for the person that owned the building and the house that we were living in and everything. And Lucille, which was my stepmother, my adopted mother, she had a bad heart, or it was a hole in the heart or something like that. They can fix that today, but back then they couldn't do anything for it because they didn't know how. That hadn't come about. And she passed away. My dad and I took Grandpa and we went back out to Oregon. Well, Dad left me with my grandfather in Oregon, and he went back east, I guess to Illinois, where he came from originally. And as I remember it, I stayed there 2 or 3 months, I guess it was. I went there with my grandfather. It was a time I enjoyed because Grandpa took me out and we traveled around the countryside, and we were down near the beach. We went to the beach a lot. And I remember that was a highlight. My father came back to Oregon and he picked me up and we drove all the way back down to the Rio Grande Valley from Oregon. And he took me to, we came back to the valley, and we had family here. There was cousins and stuff to my dad, and no matter where I went or what I did, although I didn't realize it then, but God was taking care of me. And some of the decisions that I made and where I was going or what I was going to do was all done by the Lord. I continue to wonder why He took care of me like He did. Well, now I know, because He had something special for me. Oh, there were people or women or girls that wanted to get married, but I didn't want to get married. Until the right one came along, and God developed it, and God decided this is one for me. And it all happened at once. This is the one. I had no doubt in my mind that your mother was the one that I wanted to be. And so we started out. And I look at what we've done today as I see all of these children and grandchildren around, and all of us together are of the same mind, and how it all took place is miraculously your doing, Lord, not mine. And you continued through the years to do this for me and my family.